I'm really excited to talk to today's guest, Kevin O'Leary. Of course, you know him originally from Shark Tank, one of the original sharks. He's a brilliant entrepreneur. He's the man who's got a voice about a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of things political, a lot of things finance. He's got a great new business. We're going to talk about BitZero. We're going to talk about gold. We're going to talk about his star turn in Marty Supreme. Welcome to the show, sir. Great to be here, Donny. Now, I don't know if you know this in one of my great career dumb moves of all time. I got a call in 2008, 2009 from Mark Burnett, and he tells me, he goes, guys, bringing the show over Dragon's Den from England, and do I want to be one of the original sharks? And I had just finished doing Big Idea, which was a show about entrepreneurship for 4 years. I remember the show. I had met Mark. We had done 3 seasons of The Apprentice in my ad agency, and I was like, nah, I don't think so. Let's put that under career dumb moves. But I could have been one of your compatriots, my friend. I don't know if you knew that. Well, I remember he was, throwing a broad net, trying to get guys to come on and women who would invest their own money. I met Barbara that day. We did a pilot. We never looked back. I mean, it was a crazy ride, and it's on in 54 countries today. It's incredible. I mean, it's extraordinary outcome. Yeah, you just never know. And you learn, you do all kinds of medias, but the power of mass media, the power of global mass media, still the eyeballs that gets is just stunning. Yeah. No, it really, well, of course, at the same time, we didn't have social media back then. It started after the 4th year, and that's when it really started to explode, because a lot of the Shark Tank moments are seen on all kinds of different platforms now, in addition to cable and, of course, linear TV. But I'm in Saudi Arabia, people stop me in the street, or in Switzerland and Germany, England, you name it. It's like a passport. That's what's happened to me. It's like an international passport. And I've really thought, sometimes I ask myself, how did I get here? What's the nerve that it hits? Because it cuts across. I could talk as a marketer what I see, but I'd love to hear as one of the guys in it. What is the nerve? Because it hit, this is now 17, 18 years, whatever it is, as you said, 54 countries. So it cuts across a lot of demos, a lot of segments, a lot of psychographics, a lot of characteristics. What's the nerve? I've come to the conclusion after, doing this for so long, that there's people think, United States, U.S., the number one exports energy or technology. It's not true. It's the American dream. Everybody wants to find a product or service and become a multimillionaire and set themselves free. Not really about the greed of money. It's sort of find something you're passionate about. So, we see all this stuff every year, which is kind of 2 years ahead of the economy. And you just don't know what's going to work. And then 3 years later, 4 years later, the one you thought was going to be a huge hit is a dead dog. And some random piece of whatever sells for $200 million. That's it. It's just the magic of, why didn't I think of that? What's your biggest personal success there? I know you've been involved with so many. You've had your hits. You've had your misses. I think the largest cash X at $240 million on Plated to Albertsons. And then I had another one over $100 million called Base Pause. And then there's been tons of stuff in the sort of $5 to $15 million range. And a lot of these kids came out with nothing, and they just, and 36 months later, they're multimillionaires. So Shark Tank has made many, many millionaires and some billionaires too. And of course, it's sold billions of dollars worth of product over 17 years. And it still does, because these things are in syndication and perpetuity. Yeah. They're on, every night somewhere. On CNBC, it's on every night. Has anybody ever asked you this? Have you done, obviously you have, an ROI, total amount you've invested in businesses, total amount you've made in your 10 years during Shark Tank? I have. And I've got a whole team that manages these. We've sort of done over 16 years an average IRR of 17% a year. Okay. Which is bad. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. Yeah. Well, we've done better in private equity. It's more like 22. So it's kind of in that range where you need, but the issue about Shark Tank is you may have 10 deals 8 of them go to zero and 2 make all the money.
It's private equity. It's the same thing.
You won't know. You won't know for 5 years.
Yeah. So before we get into, we got so much to talk about what's going on in the world. Obviously, your star turn-in, Marty Supreme. The critics were waiting to pan you because they hate people from outside the business. That's the one thing, because you're not an artiste and you didn't come up through the ranks and you didn't pay your dues, and you nailed it. You killed it. I saw it. I loved it. And obviously, you've been well documented. The director said, "I'm looking for a real asshole," and you're the guy. Just take me to that moment when they called you, because that one had to be like a holy shit.
Yeah, it went down like this. I've been doing TV. I work with a guy named Jay Sears at UTA.
Sure, UTA, yeah, head guy, right.
Great guy. And he called me up and said, look, Kevin. Some of us here at UTA are a little concerned because we built a really big franchise with you. You're a TV guy. You've never done scripted. You're not an actor. You might just shit the bed, and that's going to hurt our business. And I said, how do you know that? How do I know that? How does anybody know that unless I try it? And, sure, I had some concerns. I'd never done it. But when I met Josh and Ronnie up at my lake house and we went through the script, they let me kind of rewrite it a bit because it didn't really sound like Martin or Milton Rockwell would have been in 1952. I said, look, the guy's the richest guy in America. He's going to say this, not that.
Yeah.
And so by the time I was shooting it, I knew the character inside out. And, the magic of filmmaking, you're in 1952. And then, of course, working with Chalamet, he's an A-lister. It wasn't, you're working with a number one team, number one producers, number one cameraman guy, number one lighting guy.
You can't kind of miss.
I mean, anyways, and I just did the work, and then I saw the first uncolorized rough cut, and it really freaked me out. I looked at it and said, whoa, that's so crazy. And, it just went from there. And so far so good on the reviews, It's,
the reviews are great. Was it hard?
Yeah, it is hard. People don't understand how hard it is to make a movie because that was done old school. That's shot with a single Ariflex camera. I used to be a film editor way back in the late 80s. So that's 35 mil film, 2.5 stops of latitude. You got to light it perfectly. It takes forever. One camera. So each scene would take days. And, I was in the trailer a lot and I got to know Chalamet and his mother and a lot of other people. We were together like a band of gypsies in New York and Tokyo. But I'm pretty proud of it. I really am. And of course, now I've caught the bug and you got the bug.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's going to be a challenge is what makes that look. One thing about your brand that's so strong, you're very authentic, and that's what works. That's what works for Trump. That's what works for all the great brands in the world. But that one was not what we call a stretch. So it's going to be challenging. You're going to get typecast. How do you feel about that?
I would hope so, because I always want to be the antagonist.
The Bond villain. You wanted to be a Bond villain, right, growing up.
Well, I do want to be the Bond villain, and I'm going to bring a new level of evil to it. I mean, I just don't think these guys that have been doing it are evil enough. And this time, and I've told, some of the guys that are working on that asset, I said, look, this is the time where the bad guy gets the girl, and he kills everybody, and he controls the world. Let's let the bad guy win once in a while. And then the sequel can come back and kill him. But I want to destroy everything, and I want the girl. So, I mean, the whole deal has to be different.
Is that Trump? Is there a little Trump in there? Would you kind of talk about that?
I don't know. Trump, it's great to think about that, because the first time I met Trump, and he called me out the other day.
I read about that. They called you on stage with
he said, hey, I came up with this guy and Mark Burnett. We were in a room in New York selling the forwards. You know what forwards are? They're auto companies. 18 years ago, I had The Apprentice. Same week he was doing Shark Tank, and that's how we know each other. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, but the notion of course, Trump, love him or hate him, there's a badness to him, a genius badness to him, but that he gets the girl, he wins, he breaks the rules, he does a lot of not nice, kind of mean things. So it was interesting as you were describing that. That's what came to my mind.
Yeah, no, I wasn't thinking in context of Trump, but I'll tell you how I deal with Trump, because I tell everybody the same thing. I'm an investor and I do a lot of real estate development. Lately, I'm doing data centers. They're very complex projects.
We're going to talk about BitZero.
It's policy. It's all policy. I'm able to distinguish the signal from the noise with Trump. There's a lot of noise, but there's a signal always. And so you got to just cut all that bluster out of there and figure out where's he going with this? What's going to be the policy? And I got a lot of people who have Trump derangement syndrome around me, in my own staff. And I say, people, look, we're not going to use our energy to waste our time on noise. We're just not going to do it. I don't care what you think about him. You love him, you hate him. We don't make money on politicians. We make money on their policy. So we're going to look for the signal. We're going to figure it out. I've become pretty close with a lot of people in Congress and the House, both red and blue, because I represent job creation. So I'm not partisan in any way on that. But boy, there's a lot of noise. There's a ton.
So how do you do? So what do you do in a situation? And it's interesting. I'm very down the middle, and I love what Trump done for Israel. I love what he did with Iran. I'm actually have no problem with a lot of his tariff stuff. But it's the bad stuff. It's the mean stuff. It's the dragging people off the streets and ICE. It's the doing stupid things like with Obama, cartoons of apes. Where do you put that as a guy who kind of says, you know what, I support his policies? That's noise, but that's destructive noise. What do you do with that?
Well, I don't agree with everything Trump does, and I'm pretty transparent about it. And he even says that about me. He says, look, this guy does not back me 100%.
He said that. He said 90. He said 90.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't comment on stuff that has nothing to do with policy. I mean, it just doesn't even affect my business in any way. And I'm basically focused on, listen, I'm supporting something like 140 families just in my own operating companies. So I don't have time to get involved in bashing anybody. It's just a waste of my time. And if people want to opine on it, and I get these 4-page, letters sent to me and about some comment or another, I got to tell you something, Donny, kind of strange. I got 11 something million followers on all the platforms. And sometimes, my staffers will pull a direct message from somebody that's like 3 pages long of just hateful diatribe. And I say to myself, imagine the energy that person spent writing this essay and what a complete waste of their life that is. It's not going to affect me in any way whatsoever. I appreciate that they would be that interested in bashing me, but what a waste of their time. And so that is kind of like the difference between what's noise and what's signal. And I'll often write them back saying, I hear you, but this in no way affects me. I don't know who you are, and you may be part of the 2.5% lunatic fringe. I have no idea. But why don't you use your time more productively?
Do you obviously Shark Tank has a mass MASS audience. Do you ever get any kind of pinching from them? Hey, Kevin, you're going a little far this way, a little far that way. You're offending some of our audience, or you free reign? Because that was one of the things that I didn't do Shark. I was like, I want to be a generalist. I want to get out there. But what you've been able to do is take advantage of the nicheness of Shark Tank as far as what it does, but still stay very broad in the things that you discuss.
Well, I look at the different pillars of the worlds that I operate in. And I'm a very fortunate guy. Everybody will return my call all around the world now. I'm very lucky about that. But, let me give you an example. I love watches. To me, it's like collecting modern art. And I have a massive watch collection. I'm a member of the New York Horological Society. I launched a watch insurance company to just take care of my collection. It ended up growing, and everybody wanted to use the same thing. It's a partnership with Chubb called Wonder Care. Shameless self-promotion there. I get it.
That's what we do.
But the point is, that is completely different side of my brain than getting pitched on Shark Tank. And then I play guitar, or I pursue photography and I shoot black and white with, old Leicas and Hasselblads. Those are different verticals in my life. And I try and balance these things out so that no one thing is, and then I'm acting, I remember the first day I was shooting with Chalamet, and there we are with 200 extras, and Josh says, roll it. And I thought to myself,
What the fuck am I doing? How'd you get here? Yeah, what the fuck? That's that very healthy imposter syndrome that very successful people have. Somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and go, "What the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here."
Yeah, it's a remarkable thing to find yourself. I think Eric Burden and the Animals had a song, "Drink That Wine," and he says, "I woke up in a dream, and I'm in a field."
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
Good for you. Let's talk about BitZero. You, as in many things, ahead of your time. Obviously, everybody says data center. This was 4 or 5 years ago, and you kind of, I read where you said, "Look, if I was in the gold rush, I'd be the guy wanting to sell the jeans and the picks and the shovels and not mining for the gold." And that's kind of where you are with this business. Talk to me about BitZero.
Yeah, so 5 or 6 years ago, kind of exactly, it occurred to me that if this whole digital thing's going to happen, two things are going to be true at the same time. Number one, the asset, the akin to gold, will probably increase in value. And that was back when Bitcoin was like $1,100 when I started. And I said, I'm going to buy some of this stuff, but how do they make it? Like, why don't I figure out who's making the picks and shovels and the jeans? And that's when I realized this whole thing's about power. The whole deal is, can you get inexpensive power to create this form of digital gold? And that's when the journey started. We started in upstate New York off the back of the Niagara Falls turbines. And that didn't work out because you can't get permits in New York. And we moved the full facility to Norway. And this is a private company at the time. And we found phenomenal contracts on power, all sub 4 cents a kilowatt hour. Today in the US, if you can get something less than 10 cents, you're lucky. I'm talking about 4 cents and 3 cents. And so to me, the BitZero investment was really about power, permits, water, fiber, real estate. And by the way, once in a while, it mines some Bitcoin. But it doesn't have to be Bitcoin. It's also been inundated with requests from data center guys, AI guys, because they need the power. So that was sort of my thesis. And then along the way, it went public. And I think the management will uplist it to, the other exchanges. I don't know that with certainty, but so far, so good. And everybody's calling me up saying, how'd you get those power contracts? Because they went on to get them they started in Norway and they're now in Finland with nuclear power. So, I mean, look, it's a power company. That's what it is. And I'm pretty happy I have it in my portfolio, and I still have the Bitcoin. But by the way, Donny, I'll tell you something about the whole crypto space. The reason it's had such a vicious correction since last October is that every institution around the world, and I deal with these guys all the time, decided, okay, they're going to make this legal at some point. I'm going to figure out what I need to own because I'm not allowed to own it right now. And lo and behold, you just have to own Bitcoin and Ethereum and you get 97% of the performance of the market. So why would you buy all the other poo-poo coins? And they collapsed and they never came back.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your prognosis going forward? Then we're going to talk about gold. I'm just curious, where are we bullish on crypto at this point?
I'm still bullish, but obviously gold has been one of my best performers. And I formed a relationship with a lot of people don't know how to buy gold. They don't know how to own it, I mean, I own coins, I own the bullion, I own DLJ, the ETF, but gold is a kind of an interesting commodity. You got to find someone you trust if you're going to buy physical gold. So I formed a relationship, again, shameless self-promotion here, with Universal Bullion and Coin. They're amazing. I mean, they just do, they've been at it for like, I don't know how many decades, but they're well trusted. So I'm looking at them over there. I have a whole bunch of small gold coins, and I always travel with a few $1,000s of them because I've been in situations in foreign countries where there's a hurricane or there is a power outage and it goes for more than a day. The only currency that works when it's chaos is a gold coin.
Yeah. So you travel, you literally travel with gold coins. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, I do. I have a duffel bag and I've got a bunch. They're small. They're really, I got them from Universal. They're really tiny and they're made for that purpose. They're made. So you take a few $1,000 and you send it in there and they send you back, a paper roll full of these coins. You stick them in your luggage. And when the shit hits the fan, you're pretty happy you have them. They work. Everybody around the world, regardless of language or geography, I mean,
understands it. It's the true global
you just
currency.
Go to universal coin and bullion. That's where you get. I mean, that's what I use.
Speaking of shit hitting the fan, AI, it was interesting. I was just talking to Scott Galloway. I had him on the show, and he had an interesting insight watching the Super Bowl that a quarter of the ads on the Super Bowl were AI. And he said, the last time that happened was 2000. There was a quarter of the ads were .com, and .com busted. Then in 2022, a quarter of the ads were crypto, and that busted up. And this is a precursor. This is the sign from the gods that we have stretched too far in AI. I'm curious your take on where you think we are there.
Yeah, no, I kind of see the point, but I differ from the opinion. I'll tell you why. I do a lot of work in all this. I invest. I'm a multi-sectoral investor. There's 11 sectors. Real estate's the 11th. So I'm invested in all 11 as part of a diversification strategy in private companies and public ones. But what I've noticed in the last, 18 months is that every single sector is adopting AI, not building it themselves, but using tools from it and paying a subscription for it to advance margins and productivity. And I'll give you 2 examples that make it real easy to understand. Let's start in real estate, okay? In real estate today, if you build a, let's say, climate-controlled storage facility, and you've got the chillers on the roof and the tar on it, and it's, in Phoenix, Arizona or something. What you used to have to do every year is send a guy up on a ladder and go and photograph the entire roof. For your insurance, you have to do this to make sure the chillers are working and there's no leaks in the tar paper and all that stuff. It's expensive and it's risky. The guy's going up in particularly in places where the weather is inclement, Now you hire a drone flying company that has high resolution 6K drones, fly guys, and they basically, a drone goes across a matrix and sends the images up to a satellite live. AI analyzes the picture from the year before and automatically sends out a work order. I mean, that's incredible. The savings are amazing. That's one example. That's real estate. And then in insurance, I can generate a watch insurance policy, Wonder Care in 9 seconds now. I don't need guys to go do research on spreadsheets about the fraud rate in any zip code anywhere. It's all done by scraping data. So I think a lot of this innovation is coming in. And if you notice something, if you buy a pair of these Google speakers where you say, "Hey Google, play me Steely Dan," 2 years ago, that would start in 2 or 3 seconds. Today, you're going to wait up to 40 seconds because the data centers are so jammed.
Yeah.
There's no more capacity. There's no more compute capacity and no more power in the American grid. So we got a big problem brewing. And one of my big businesses is just trying to find stranded natural gas and build data centers with it.
You're into so many things. I'm curious, is there anything that's just percolating right now where you're just going, haven't gotten there yet, but it could be my next act?
Well, the one that's really fascinated me, and this was brought to my attention, 3 years ago. I didn't do anything about it. Michael Rubin was a guest shark on Shark Tank.
Yeah,
and,
smart guy.
We're hanging around, and he comes over to me and says, "You should buy some collectible sports cards." And I said, "What are you talking about? Are you crazy? Like, that's cardboard. I'm not going to spend $100 on a piece of cardboard." He said, "Oh, no. You're going to spend millions on a piece of cardboard." I just laughed at him. I said, "You're out of your mind." And he was right. I am spending millions, and it's one of my best performing assets. So what I've learned, because I had my guys dig, the same guys that analyze the stocks for me, I had them go look at this market. If you get into rare vintage sports cards, you can do baseball, you can do basketball, you can do other sports, but like a Kobe Bryant logo man from his rookie year, signed by him beside Jordan. So dual logo man, Kobe with Jordan. That card, when we bought it in August, was $12.93 million. I remember my wife saying, "Are you out of your beep mind?" Today, that card could trade for $17.5 million.
That's incredible.
How many months is that? 6, 7?
Yeah, 50% return. Yeah, not bad.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah. That's interesting. So you're deep into that. What's your day? because you're into so many different things. Give me your day today. Obviously, you spent a half hour, 45 minutes doing this. What else are you doing today?
No, I spend, I get up at 5:45. I ride my bike on the boardwalk in Miami Beach for about an hour and 20 minutes. It's 12 miles, keep the heart rate at 120. I have a very, very, very focused diet. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I drink some wine. It's bad for your sleep, but that's my only sin. But my whole thing is about, how can you be the most productive you can be in keeping your energy up in your mind? So that 5:45, I finished the gym at around 8:30. By then, I've listened to about 6 feeds from around the world: Al Jazeera, BBC, Fox News, CNN, all that. I get it all. It's the same 7 stories are going around the world, but from different perspectives. Right. And then I start doing the hits. I'm the only guy I think that's on every single network because I don't want to be paid.
I'm the same way. I don't take money from MSNBC because I want to be able to do. I did GMA yesterday. I want to be able to do that. I was shocked to see you on my MS Now. There you were the other day in your dinner jacket a couple of weeks ago, right before Marty Supreme. You were great.
Yeah, no, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to New York next week. I really enjoy the different perspectives. Yeah. I know all the hosts everywhere. I've been doing TV for decades. But I also find that we're a very polarized country. I don't have to tell you that.
Right.
And so what I think works for me is I can go on Fox and Friends in the morning and CNN at night and have the same debate from different polar perspectives. Mm-hmm. But I just stick with the facts. I mean, I just say, I never change. The truth remains the truth. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. But I want to be part of the narrative, and it's a marvelous, energetic thing to do. But I didn't think it'd ever get this big. It's getting pretty crazy, and and that's how I guess Ronnie Bronstein watched me on some show and said, "That's the guy. That's Milton Rockwell. Let's go talk."
Isn't it amazing the way just shit takes on other shit, and just the way it just starts to roll? It's incredible, isn't it?
It is. It's just you don't. Every hour something else happens, good and bad, right? But I mean, in the same day, this happens every day. In the same day, I'll get a phone call. Oh, I'm going out of business. You're an investor. You got to give me another $1 million or whatever. And then, that's the guy's depressed or somebody gets sued or something. And then an hour later, I get a phone call. Hey, listen, we want to buy you out of your position 1,000x on some startup you own a piece of. That just happened today. So it's you have to manage the euphoria through the depression cycle each day, and then have a nice glass of Montrachet at around 4:30.
Your character, Mr. Wonderful, it's you. I would not describe you on TV as a nice guy. Are you a nice guy?
I am a nice guy, but I tell the truth. A lot of people don't like it. It's very controversial.
Well, that was one of the reasons I turned down Shark Tank. I consider myself like a good guy. I was like, I'm not a shark. I don't want to be a shark. But as I said, one of my great mistakes. But I'm just curious how you see yourself, just as a nice guy.
Donny, that's a good question, because imagine when you're a polarizing figure, and I certainly am, and you can see that from just the feedback from different people and everything else. But I can't make everybody happy, and I would waste my time trying to. So I care about my immediate circle of maybe 20 people, my family and closest friends. I try and keep them happy. And for everything else, I just say it like it is. And I've told this story countless times now, but I think it's very important to reiterate it, because when I worked for Steve Jobs, talk about not nice guy. I mean, man, he was brutal, but he taught me something. He said, every day you're going to get 3 things done. And that's called the signal. And the rest that stops you from getting the 3 things done in the 18 hours you're awake is called the noise. And so you're going to have to learn to be 80% signal, 20% noise, or you're going to fail. And I was providing all his software to him, and he would be all of his educational stuff. That was me. So I had a lot of time with him. And that's true. It works. It definitely works. But the problem is when you go on signal for 80% of the day, you piss a lot of people off. I don't waste my time listening to crap I don't need to know, or, I saw this with Elon we're speaking about Mark Burnett, he used to come to Mark Burnett's holiday parties, and Lady Gaga's there. Mark was really bringing a lot of people together. And Elon, my son was working for him at the time, and I went over and started talking to him, and I realized this guy wastes zero time. If he's not getting useful information from you, he just walks away. There's no small talk.
Yeah.
He'll ask you something that matters to him, and if it's not interesting, sayonara. But look what he's achieved. Look what Jobs achieved. I'm telling you, this signal thing really works, and that's what I do. So a lot of people say, he's not friendly and he's not social. I hate to tell you this, Donny, I don't give a shit.
Kevin O'Leary, man on a roll. Keep up the good work, my friend. I appreciate your time.
Take care.
Stay well, my friend. Everybody, thanks for watching. If you like it, hit that subscribe button. And we love having you here watching On Brand. And just don't miss any future episodes. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.